Let us begin by just taking a few deep breaths and closing our eyes as we feel called. Sitting up straight as we feel called, allowing our spine to find a neutral position, not overextended, not too curved. Thinking about our head, our face. Although finding a neutral position involves some engagement, allowing stress to fall away, tension to subside as much as is able. Engaging our core slightly to help with that neutral position. Lengthening at the hips. If possible, engaging our hips as well. Helps to put our pelvis in a line with our spine, especially while standing, moving, lifting. Allowing the distractions, things that pull us into the moment to do so. Engaging with the feeling of our body, finding a neutral spine, even as we might decide to sit back down. Continuing to remember our breath. Our breath allows us to come into the moment in any situation, whether it be during work or in a conversation. Remembering the sensation of our breathing can help us to engage with life, with the peace of the current moment. Allow that to happen now. Allow your thoughts to pass on by, not holding or clinging too hard to any of them, and in fact, letting them go. As you engage with your breath, with your body in the current moment, not forcing them away. Often it's hard to let go of every single thought, every affection or judgment. It's not necessary. Just accept what is. Opening your heart and mind to greater peace and calmness. As we continue to come into the moment, focusing on our breath, allow yourself to feel expansion within, expansion of the room, of your mind, a world without bounds. Allowing all the things present there to exist as they always do, all at the same time, finding peace amongst the environment of your life. Allow yourself to notice the thoughts, the judgments, the feelings that continue to speak, continue to feel. Allow yourself to create some distance from those things, watching them as if from afar. Knowing that you are the watcher, the container, the holder, the recipient of life, even as you help to shape it within and without. Allow yourself to loosen up around the judgments, around perhaps even the bodily pains, finding that neutral spine, that neutral spirit or mind of peace and stability. That core structure that we often overlook because of its ever-presentness. Allow yourself to relax into that deep peace. Relax around those points of judgment towards ourselves, towards others, towards situations, the world. Still accepting that they might continue to exist, the judgments, perhaps the thing being judged, the destructiveness, but allowing your spirit not to center on it, and instead find a place of peace, a place of presence that can actually help with the transformation that's needed. That's desired. That's requested. Noticing that the true transformation starts within. Allow yourself to think of some of the good things in your life, in your behavior, in your spirit, the structures that allow for beingness, for connectivity, for joy. Notice how engagement with those good things brings presence. How the habits that we turn to, even if sometimes seemingly wasteful or distracted or even hurtful, how they bring us into the moment in some way. Engage us in a way that we feel called to. Open yourself to finding that engagement even without the habit. For noticing that engagement can be had in healthier and healthier spaces. Internal, external spaces with more peace. with more appreciation. With more love. Even with the chill in the air, notice the warmth within. Notice the peace of atmosphere, of mind, a type of light, type of vision within. Remembering our breath. The breath of life. The gravity of the present moment. Allowing that inner vision to see an atmosphere that brings you peace, reminds you of life, of light, of richness and health. It's easy to internalize our judgments, our projections, the world's seeming judgments and hurtfulness. Accept that those things may continue to crop up, but that in health we hold even the most hurtful situations in peace. Working to transform them, yes, even in vigor, but finding a centeredness even amidst the work, even amidst the trials, the traumas of life. Take a moment to accept those traumas, the hurtfulness of an uncentered world sometimes. Just like us, a world that sometimes acts not out of a place of peace, but in a way something seemingly opposite, even quite literally so. Accept the trauma that comes to mind, just holding it. Finding a surprise contentment, perhaps joy beyond that situation, around it. The situations of life often create hurt, even moments that lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, as they call it, and other forms of similar reactions that we carry in our body, that we carry in our minds. Often we're right to react. Often it's hard to accept or to understand those situations, to find peace with the emotions that come up. to find peace with the seeming loss, the seeming judgment, how others can be so cruel, how others can discard something so worthwhile, so deeply living. Something so precious as your life, as others, that we can only start to appreciate it. It's okay that we carry those reactions, but the more we find peace in them and accept that others behave that way, that we can behave that way in our own way, the less we have to carry that hurt, the less we have to hurt others to avoid something in ourselves. Continue to remember your breath. Notice how your shoulders are lying, allowing them to find a good position, down, slightly back. A position that engages our shoulders when lifting, when moving, allows for some torque. Notice how our arms lie. Notice our rib cage. Often we can overextend or curl up. Play with that for a moment, just feeling the difference. Engaging our core slightly, which is always healthy. Lengthening at the hips. A type of neutral position that is somewhat like a symbol of the peace of our hearts, our minds, our spirits. A place of good positioning for all movements, for the lifting of everyday life, for the movement, the tension. Continuing to find our breath even in those moments where we are least likely to remember that our breath can help us engage, find meditation, find peace even as we might get agitated, anxious, or joyful, exuberant. Accepting that we feel those different things, not shunning them, but allowing a peace to start to creep in, sometimes transforming those other feelings. Often, like the things we judge others or judge ourselves for, we have aspects of ourself that are hard to accept, that we may not even acknowledge until they jump in, like our anger or something else. Allow yourself to accept your anger or whatever feelings that you can start to recognize are sometimes shunned, perhaps due to our upbringing or something in our past. Noticing that as we integrate those feelings over the coming moments, the coming days and weeks even, how they're transformed. Like in society, bringing in the diverse elements of our minds into greater connection with the whole and health, still maintaining their diversity, can allow for a more vibrant community. More strength in our actions, our decisions. Often, a vein of righteous anger may be healthy in a world as destructive as ours can sometimes be. As centered on selfishness instead of selflessness as ours can sometimes be. As we can sometimes be. Psychology, the world's religions and spiritualities often emphasize this idea of relinquishing our selfishness for selflessness actually increases our joy, our connectivity, even if we're isolated, our peace of mind, our sense of well-being. Crazy enough, allowing our jerk to subside, allowing our anxiousness to start to fall away, can also reduce our internal inflammation. Those who respond in a more selfish manner in certain studies, even if they are seemingly healthy, often have much more inflammation. Our bodies, in a way, seem to embody in minute ways our spirit. These things go unnoticed. Notice how some reflections on our bodies may connect with greater judgments of ourselves, of others. Allow yourself to accept our earth, ourselves, others as they are. Noticing that the health that truly matters to us in any given moment is the health of our hearts, our minds. Continuing to find our breath. Although it's sometimes hard for me, breathing through our nose can help sync our minds with our meditative practices. Strangely enough. Allowing the sounds around us to also pull us into the present moment. As our breath is just a tool, but the goal is engagement, peace with the current moment, and with the things that come in it, whether in the world, whether in our minds. Notice yourself formulating meditative thinking, a type of your own guided meditation. The things that speak to you, the things that would speak to you. Opening our hearts, in a sense, to greater warmth of the current moment that we're finding, of the environments that we are remembering, that we are creating, of the people, of ourselves, just finding that the peace that we're starting to lean into allows us also to lean into warmth and compassion, even in the face of hurt. Noticing how the aspects of us that pull us towards hurtfulness in ourselves, whether directed at ourselves or others, is the opposite of finding peace. In fact, it brings out anxiousness, distractedness. Finding that some compassion for that aspect of ourselves. Hoping for greater peace for that aspect of ourselves and others. For the next few moments, let us remember the things that continue to speak to us, that start to speak to us as we listen to this bell every 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Let us return to our bodies, continuing to feel our breath, of course, also how our feet feel as they touch the ground, legs back against our seats. Accepting the points of pain if there are any. Engaging our core. Often it's hard to maintain engagement with our core and glutes, the major muscles of our bodies, especially the glutes. Sometimes it's hard to remember to come back into the present moment, to remember our breath, or the activities, the practices that help us engage, find peace. Often it's a turn of thought, turn of mind to truly engage, to be present. These things take some practice, and yet as we utilize them, we find that they allow for less work overall. They allow for less pain, bodily or mentally. Sometimes getting used to them may flare up things, may cause us to feel as if we're confronting something that we don't want to confront. Even in the face of that, keep your mind, your internal sight on the prize of peace, because we carry those pains anyway, just hidden. They come out at the most inopportune time. They take over our actions sometimes. They undermine our movement, our stability. Like everyone else, we have room to grow. It's okay to take baby steps. It's okay to dial it down as we work towards healthy practices. Often we find that we must engage other aspects of our lives before finding the benefit in the thing that we are most wanting to transform. Accepting that this is the healthy route. Like water settling over a landscape, touching all things at this place of gravity. Even the things that we aren't aware of in ourselves. Like the sun shining on everything alike, depending on the things in front and behind. In our spirit, we have a type of light that shines within, illuminating objects of thought, insights. As we know from quantum physics, or physics and science today, all things are deeply connected in a way that's hard to understand. Light is also heat. Things travel in relationship, are caught in community and build greater things. That light within can be magnified. The warmth of our spirit, the call to connectivity and community that we find exemplified in matter and ecosystems can be received in greater and greater ways in our spirit, appreciated in ways that are often overlooked. Allow yourself to open to that warmth. Open to the connectivity of all things, as many people who take psychedelics attest to. The shared being of creation, of life. The light of understanding, of truth, structure, of science, rationality, healthy spirituality and philosophy. The warmth of why, of feeling, affection, the things sometimes overlooked but that truly matter in our hearts, that impact us so greatly every day. Of community, of shared goals, outcomes, responsibility. The diversity that makes up any one single thing that we call a whole. Allow yourself to appreciate your individuality, the original person, unduplicatable, whatever the word is. Just how amazing the original, the only you are. The life, the insight, the warmth and joy that you bring to the table, even just within you. Especially within, in deep connectivity to all other things. The unimaginable story of the gifts that make you you, evolution, the impact of matter, gravity, mutation, connectivity, striving towards life and more and greater community and health. Allow that call to greater health within to center you, to find its epoch in your heart, in your mind, to pull you like other more selfish desires will not, even if we feel like we desire them so much, because those things fall away, even as we obtain them, are transient in comparison to the health of our minds. Noticing that the light of life that we are starting and will always just start to appreciate in ourselves also shines in others, even in nature and things we call inanimate. Allow that light of life to call you towards supporting community, life, as you see fit. Upholding your worthiness and others in the same breath of shared being. Noticing how undercutting others in their beingness undercuts ourselves. To close, we'll continue to breathe for just a couple moments. Allowing the gravity of our minds, our spirits, to pull us back to centeredness and peace, even as we sometimes get caught up in our old habits, our distractedness, and anxiety. Accepting things as they are, and working towards our own and our world's transformation toward greater health.